All right, we are starting off another office hours. And as it's just me, I'm going to start triaging some pull requests. Hey, Trevor. So what can I do for you? Um, it sounds like my audio is... All right, Sean, can you hear me?
All right.
Yep. Okay.
I guess I can.
All right. Trevor, can you hear me now? Okay. So, Trevor, anything that you wanted to talk about, see, help with? As this is office hours, it's okay. Just hanging out. Sean, anything in particular you wanted to dig into?
No, I'm just here for moral support.
Okay. Well, with nothing specific, I'll just echo through Sean's speakers and. All right. Make sure to start going through pull requests, making sure they're tagged up to date, and adding my thoughts and opinions where I can. So, all right. Just taking a look at the most least or the pull requests that haven't been updated in the longest period of time. So if you want to play along at home, the search I'll throw in chat. The first pull request we're looking at is 1266 on the Chef repository. Allow relative symlinks on Windows. Let's see. Hey, Chris. Alright, looks like there's not been a lot of action on this thing since when? Yeah, November 24th. So I am going to close this as an incomplete contribution. And we can resurrect it if needed. Alright. So Chris, you popped in just as I started looking at that PR. Anything in particular that you wanted to take a look at or get addressed?
None in particular.
Okay. So it looks like it's going to be a lot of me talking to myself. And so Chris or Trevor, if you guys, either one of you come up with anything you want to talk about, ask questions on, whatever, just holler. Because until I got something else, I'm just going through and triaging pull requests. All right. So the next pull request up is 1253, and it's don't reset cache when override run list is used in the command line. And so basically the idea I think here is to not try to pull down new cookbooks when it's being run from the command line. Oh no, I got that backwards. It's don't blow away the cache if we're specifying from the command line. Alright, then we haven't had anything happen here. This just needs some specs. Let's see. Okay. So let's see if we can get that if we can get that caught up, because that sounds like a useful thing. We got next one up is 2125. And it's Yum package provider cannot specify versions. Okay, so this has been fixed in Chef 12. So we can close this. Next one up, 1642. Support specific run levels for Red Hat service. And let's see here. Um, Alright, so this one is still waiting. Alright, and so Chris, you got a pull request that you want us to take a look at. 3119.
Yeah, I was just looking through some of the easier ones, and I'm not sure why I closed this, but I had some failed builds. It seemed pretty straightforward according to the issue. Just kind of have all of the actions minus remove.
Okay. So I remember this issue here. I think.
Yeah, this one bit us not too long ago.
Okay. Alright, so should this pull request be open? Because you closed it.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted. Yeah, you can reopen it then.
Okay. So let's see what the... Okay, so... So my guess is that if you said the build was failing when you first submitted.
Yeah, there's a couple of tests that are failing.
Yeah, my guess is they're checking for.
Probably trying to leverage the remove action.
Yeah. So let's see, Chef user provider. So this is in the core user. Let's.
Yeah, the user resource.
Okay, so. Okay, so let's see here. So let's take a look at that provider, or at the user. Let's see if there's this more platform-specific one. All right, so we have Windows user. Okay, so since this only blows up on OS X, I don't think altering it for every platform is necessarily going to be the. Right, let's see. Change the actions with the assertion. Let's take a look though. Yeah, so define resource requirements. Let's see what that gets called. So it's been called. It's been called in the resource. Nope. It must be called somewhere higher up the stack. Yeah, looks like it gets called. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. So that's called the base class. So then, let's see here. We've got brawl actions, look up the group. Let's see, have we got any tests back yet? Failed. Well, there's a lot of failures. Okay. Let's get back to the first one. So pending. Let's see. Just the one failure. Okay. Can't translate the. User spec 457. was spec unit provider user spec. Line 457. So spec provider resource requirements. It should raise an error if you can't translate the group name during resource assertions. And so it expects to be able to do it for all actions in its own. Since you took remove out, that's what's causing the test to fail. So, what we'll need to finish this thing up is we'll have to fix this test. To I'll have to look at. We'll have to fix this test somehow because it's not. Or make sure it throws the right, or make sure it's throwing the right error. Because this isn't even talking about. So define resource requirements. Let's see that. Yeah. Okay, so it's expecting this to get thrown. Let's see here. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, we gotta fix the test. There's this spec. There it is. Okay. So that load current resource. So provider, convert group name. What was the... Got no method and two symbol.
I found it also in the build log there. It mentioned libchef provider, line 159, process resource requirements. And
Yep.
when I take a look at that, it still says all actions, so I'm wondering if I should change that just to the ones that we want, or...
So, yeah, so let's see. Process all. Yeah. So it's requirements run action. So we need to handle in this method, I think we need to handle PR. Requirements run. So the test is going to check all actions, and before removed, we have to have, according to the test, we have to get this exception. We have to get that chef exceptions user for a failure to look up. Where's the test?
So maybe like unless for the remove action.
Because it's so what. Well, we need to handle. So the resource requirements is basically checking to see, hey, could I resolve that? And it's throwing an error in the case of that. So that means our spec test is wrong, according to the bug. But it's right for the case that the bug or that the spec test is written for, which is Linux. let's see how I'm out. So let's see how different this is for. Uh, we might need to do like another provider because it's just that it's a small change in behavior, but it breaks other behavior. Because we don't want to change the default behavior of the user provider. Well, because what this test is saying is if we get an error on the group, we should or we need to fix this test so that it ignores the group failure. The problem with doing this right in the provider resource is now it would never actually validate a group before removing a user, but the edge case is OSX and not everything else. So let's do this. I'm going to ping Surtur on your pull request and get him to weigh in.
Okay.
Because he obviously had something in mind. Alright, so yeah, I'm hesitant to say let's go and change the default one, but I don't know if it's really worth a whole separate provider just for that group validation. So let's get some more thoughts. Does that work for you, Chris?
Yep.
Hey, any chance you're coming to ChefConf?
I will be. Yeah, I'll be there on Monday.
Awesome. We will have to meet up while we're there.
For sure. Are you going to be at the summit, or are you teaching a session?
I am probably going to be in one of the sessions. There's a couple of workshops that I'm probably going to end up helping out with, one or the other, depending on whose room needs more help. But if they're both well in hand, I will probably be at the summit then.
Cool.
So, and I'll definitely be out and around throughout the rest of ChefConf. Okay, then let's take a look at the next old one here that we got sitting. AUR package provider. Alright, so we've got fail builds. And it's been relatively recently worked on, so let's take a look at what's failing. Oh, some stuff actually passed. That's not even a... Oh, this might need a rebase. Let's see if it's the same case for AppVeyor.
Yeah, it fails pretty quickly in that way.
Yeah. Okay, and hate that link doesn't open in a new window. I keep forgetting to right-click that. Oh, right.
Probably could use the nice squash of some of those commits too.
Yeah. Let's see. We got some specs. Okay, yeah. So. Okay, so we are back on winning for contributor response. And all right, next one up is 2100. And we're into February on these things, which is good. And things are at least been touched relatively recently. Mixlib shellouts expect streams to have a shift operator. All right, this one's still waiting. Next up, 2752. Make sure we have a valid object before calling close. This looks like a shady character. Let's take a look at it.
This one. Yeah, actually, I was taking a look at this one the other day, and was trying to figure out the unit test that Mon suggested. I tried some variations of it, but I still got failures.
Did you push any of those tests up, or you have them in a branch somewhere?
No.
Okay.
I didn't create any commits for them.
If you want to throw them up somewhere, more than happy to dig into them with you and see if we can't make them work.
Well, so I'm trying to also figure out what exactly. So he mentions expect temp file to receive open erase foobar. I'm wondering what these are actually testing.
And then, so let's see what you're.
Yeah, so you might need to like open up the whole file for a little more context.
Yeah.
You start streaming something to the file, and if an exception is raised at any time, you drop to that exception part. And immediately what it tries to do is run a close on your temp file, but if for whatever reason you didn't have the proper permissions for the directory, or somehow it was full, you it would end up TF would end up as nil, and then you would try to close on the nil, which would give you that awesome undefined nil for no class thing.
Okay, yeah. So stream to temp file. Temp file open. So temp file open, and then you get the error with write, or you get the error with close.
You would get the error at the rescue exception part if at any time that failed.
Okay, yeah.
Rescue.
Okay. So
So
close.
then you get kind of like an exception within an exception type thing, kind of weird. So the point of the if TF is just so that you could properly hit that raise.
Yeah, if it's not null. Okay. So then okay, temp file receive open. Yeah, so the test would be to make sure that, because there's a variety of reasons that this can fail, and we're just catching generic exceptions here. We want to make sure that if we try to open this file, if that throws an exception, that then TF would be null. So we'd hit your exception case. And we wouldn't get the nil class exception. That's what we want to test. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
Because in either case, we hit that exception, we try to close out the file if it exists, and then we're going to re-raise. So we expect that whole function to end up throwing an exception, but we want to make sure that the exception that we're not getting another exception on top of that. Let's see. So, yeah. Because that will let the real exception come through. So in this case here, we'd say we want this to throw foobar, and then we'd make sure that the exception that's being re-raised is foobar and not the nil class one. So whatever exception we raise coming out of temp file is what we expect that whole function to return, because we're re-raising it. We just get, as it stands now, or as the bug stands, you just get that nil class one that is what you're trying to fix. So it should be a pretty straightforward spec to write. If you've got something you've started that isn't working quite as you expect, toss it up there, and I'll be doing these again on Wednesday. Or if you want to ping me before that, that's fine too.
Okay.
If you ping me when you put it up there, I'll take a look, and we'll see what we can't figure out. Because it should be. We just want to make sure that the error that we're generating from the temp file not being able to be opened is what we end up getting passed through. Cool. With that, I think we're just about out of time, and Yay. That's pretty much it for today's office hours. We'll be back again next or on Wednesday, same bat time, same bat channel. We will be. I think we are going to be moving these earlier in the day, so that we can get one of our other coworkers into the rotation of doing these. He's based in London, so this time is rather horrible for him. So we'll try to move these things a little earlier in the day, probably after ChefConf.
Okay.
Cool. Hey, Chris, thanks for coming out.
All right, thanks a lot.
And Sean, thanks for hanging around.
Yep, later.
Later.